Hey, we're going to dive into how to wire your brain to achieve 10x in 67 days. I am Dr. Shannon Irvin, and today we're going to be deep diving into why hasn't it worked in the past? Like, you've known what to do, you've got strategies coming out of your ears, but the results and the revenue just aren't there to the level that you want. If that is what it's felt like this last year, let me know that. I'm actually cleaning up something here on my desktop so I can see your comments, because what is happened to most of us is that we chase strategy, results, revenue through the lens of doing more of what we can see and hoping for a different result. And so I want to help you wire your brain to 10x your revenue and your results in the next 67 days. And I would love to hear from you live here in the chat. What are you wanting to 10x in 2025? Are you wanting to 10x your revenue, your results? Do you want to accomplish and achieve goals? What is it that you're really wanting to 10x this year? But let's dive into some of the brain science of how do we truly wire our brain to go 10x. And so step number one, we're going to wire our brain to go 10x by getting really, really clear. Now, you've heard this before, but the biggest mistake that I see entrepreneurs and professionals make is that we will look at what we don't want and then make what we do want. We look at, I don't want to be paycheck to paycheck, so I do want to make a little more revenue. I don't want to be overweight, so I'm going to, right? So we're looking at the things we don't want to create what we do want. What that does in the brain is it actually puts you in a tug of war type of thing from a glucose perspective with the very thing that you want. In other words, if you're focusing on what you don't want while you're creating what you do, you will not go 10x. You will stay in the zone of where you are right now because your brain is going to see the place that you want to go as a threat. So we've got to get really clear on what is the epic, audacious place you want to go. And we want to unhook ourselves from what we see in the present. Because if we continue to repeat what we already see in the present, the bank account, the client load, the strategy that you bought all the courses for that work a little but don't work all the way, you know what to do, but something is a disconnect on like, how does it actually happen? So we look at the lack to try to create the abundance. We look at the lack to try to create the abundance. And in the brain starts to go like Danger Will Robinson. This is not going to work. And so your brain throws glucose at trying to have you reduce down your desire. It throws neurochemicals, things that show up as overwhelm, procrastination, perfectionism. And here's the reality. You're already successful. You're already getting a level of results, a level of revenue, a level of client acquisition. But tell me in the chat, are you at a 10x level yet? Are you at a 10x level yet? Or is there like a whole nother gear you want to get to? So we have to unhook, we have to get clear. We have to unhook from looking at what we have in lack to try to create what we want for the future. Because when we do that, it is literally like trying to drive a vehicle with a tether tied around it. It just won't work. Okay, so that's number one. We've got to get really clear on what is the epic audacious goal. What is it that we want that is so big? And I'm a God girl, so I always say so big that it's going to require God's favor and God's blessing in order for you to actually accomplish it. Okay, so why we want to do that is your brain's systems are aligned in a way where you don't have to see it to believe it, but you have to teach and wire your brain to believe it so that you can see it. And most smarter goals, most the way we follow strategies to get results literally puts us in the bind of looking at what we have to create more. And that, my friend, will put your brain to work against your vision, stopping you from that 10x. So we got to get clear. Okay, number 2 is we have to get released. Here's the metaphor I want you to think about. In terms of your brain and 10xing the results, wiring your brain for revenue, for 10x revenue, 10x results, 10x accomplishment, your brain has got, you're high performer, high achiever. If you're watching this, you're always on the go. Tell me in the chat, like, do you always have your foot on the gas? You're always going, you're buying strategies, you're trying to make it work. Now you know what to do, but you don't know how to do it, right? So frustrating, but your foot is on the gas all the time. Just write the word gas. If your foot is on the gas all the time, you're always trying, doing, striving, hustling, feel like you're on that treadmill. I don't have to encourage you to put your foot on the gas. But we need to get released, because what's going on is our subconscious patterns are literally brain brakes, putting your foot on the brake at the same time as your foot is on the gas. So if your foot is on the brake and the gas at the same time, what happens? Tell me in the chat. We're live together. So let's get into this. Let's really wire you for 10x this year. And we're going to be doing a lot of that in the upcoming months. So I'm going to give you lots of free resources that you can go and go even deeper with. I've got a free training coming up that we're going to be doing to help you really become wired for 10x in 2025. But here's the thing. If you have your foot on the gas, going, striving, setting the goals, doing all the things, wanting to achieve, buying strategies, but if your brain has a brake pedal belief about money, about worth, about ability, capacity, potential, and your foot is on the brake at the exact same time, what's going to happen? Right? You're going to spin out. You're going to slow down. That's why you get the neurochemicals of overwhelm, of feeling stuck, of not knowing what to do. It's not your fault. This is actually a brain-based process that happened in your childhood of origin, environment of origin. We don't have to snorkel back there. Amen. But here's the thing. We've got to get released. We have to literally take the foot off the brake. If you want to 10x your revenue, if you want to 10x your results, if you want to 10x the next level of achievement, you have to get released. You have to release those brain brakes once and for good. Because here's what I need you to know. The stories that you have about money, worth, enoughness, ability, capacity, all of that, knowing the right thing to do, those are patterns that were created in your childhood of origin, environment of origin, whether it was great, horrible, or somewhere in between, doesn't matter. There is a synaptic pruning process to removing those brain brakes for good. So tell me in the chat, 10x happens when you what? Put your foot more hard on the gas, or you take your foot off the brake, right? With the foot fully on the gas, once we take that foot off the brakes, once you get released, right, then you have the momentum and the inertia to 10x what you're doing. It's no longer holding you back. And here's what I need you to know. Those brain brakes, lean in with me. This is when I learned this. This was the thing that created our whole Sync Neuro Coach model. Those brain breaks, those stories, those patterns, they're running 90% of your daily decisions without your knowledge or permission. Your decisions are creating your actions, and your decisions and actions are creating your results. They're all based on this subconscious programming, these patterns around money, worth, enoughness, ability, capacity, potential. And here's the thing. You didn't choose them. It's not your fault. And you can learn to get the parking brake off of your results in your revenue. And finally be able to know how to do what it is you already have bought strategies to do. I say, don't buy another strategy. Learn how to wire yourself for 10x, right? So you got to get clear. We got to teach our brain to believe it so that it doesn't put the threat detection system up and try to make you play smaller. You probably have experienced that already this year. You get to the end of the year and you start shrinking your goals. We don't want to do that. We want to wire our brain to believe it before we see it so that our brain will expand and see it as safe. And so it will allow it to come so much faster. That, my friend, is called manifestation. It starts from how God wired the brain to be able to have more than you could ever ask or imagine. That is the capacity that is in your brain that you've never learned the tools to actually access. And it's running everything you do, right? So we got to get clear. We've got to get released. Take that foot off the brake. You didn't create the brake pedal beliefs. You have the power and the skill to learn how to really 10x early in the year is by taking that foot off the brake. And there are 4 simple steps to do that. We'll dive deep in our live training all around how do you release the brake, because once the foot is off the brake pedal, acceleration happens, 10x happens, 100x happens, right? And I want to know, for you that are here live, I would really love for you to pop in the chat. What do you want to 10x this year? What is it that looking toward 2025, are you looking to 10x revenue, results, accomplishment, achievement, goals? Just tell me what it is that you're trying to 10x. First, you got to get clear, brain-based clear though, because remember, 90% of our decisions and actions, and therefore our results, are coming from that subconscious place. So we've got to, number one, get clear, make sure that what we want isn't a threat in the brain. Train the brain, wire the brain that it is exactly what is safe. And then we need to release the brake, get released, right? We need to remove that foot from the brake pedal in 4 easy, simple steps so that you don't have these patterns of the past running 90% in opposition to the way you want your year to go. Okay, so we've got to get clear, we've got to get released. And number 3, we've got to get traction. So yes, we've got to teach our brain, wire our brain to believe it first. Yes, we need to take the foot off the brake pedal and get released so that we can gain momentum. But if you gain momentum and you don't do the 3rd step, which is getting traction, right? Getting traction. The way the brain works is we want to get that 90% of our subconscious that is firing and wiring without your knowledge and permission. We want to automate that 90% in alignment with your goals. How do you get traction? How do you get to 10x? Well, you get clear, you get released. And then to get that traction, we got to brain prime. We've got to hard wire where you're going in 2025. It's not enough to just believe it in the brain. It's not enough just to release the brake. Those are the first 2 steps. But the 3rd step is, how do we put it on autopilot? And you see, find me a 7-figure or an 8-figure or 9-figure entrepreneur that doesn't go from win to win to win to win. And the reason why they're able to do that is they automate in their brain the next thing before it actually happens. And because of that, not only do they accelerate, but they amplify that acceleration 10x, 100x. And that's why you're like, seems like they just had a win. Now they're having another win. They're doing that because their brain has traction. It has automated what it takes to get to the next level. What got you where you are right now, the patterns of your brain, the subconscious patterns of your brain, will not shift with more willpower, hustle, and trying harder. I know we were taught that. I was taught that as a Gen Xer, just work harder. And it's not that you don't have to work hard. Of course you do, but we also need to learn these God-given steps of how God wired our brains. What is the science of how the brain allows an achievement? We got to get clear and literally open that pathway up in the brain. We got to get released. We've got to release those old broken brake pedal beliefs that are literally sucking the life out of our 10x results, and take the foot off the brake once and for all. Doing that in something called synaptic pruning, and it's a very simple process, but most people go their whole lives and stay in the 98% and never release that. You can't find me one successful entrepreneur, CEO, C-suite person that hasn't done this work around releasing these patterns that weren't theirs to begin with once and for all. And then 3rd, you got to get traction. You got to automate through a tool called brain priming, just getting in a real deep repetition state around the future that you're trying to create so that it, like a magnet, it starts to pull it towards you. So those are the 3 key steps to wire your brain for 10x in 2025. It is the most important. I'm going to say something bold and brazen. Don't do any goal setting workshops before you do this, because all the smarter goals, all the workshops, you've done them over and over again. So why is doing something like that over and over again and not getting the results you want? Why do we return to it? It's because we just don't know that there is a way, what we call our 67-day year method, to take and compress and crush 365 days into a 67-day window. Because why? Because we have gotten clear, because we have gotten released, and because we've gotten traction. And our brain is where we get more time. We spend our time based on how our brain is programmed. We make money or we don't make money, or make revenue, we don't make revenue. We get results and we don't get results based on how the brain is wired. And so there is no more important thing for you to do to learn how to release 10x into your life and into your business and into your career than to learn these 3 steps. And so we will be having a live free event coming up. And I also have, if you're interested in an audio for free that you can download and you can start listening to start to build that traction, just put traction in the chat and we will DM you a link to a brain prime that I created for myself that helped me get from 6 figures over the 7-figure mark and close to 8 figures. It's something I listen to every single day. I'd be glad to give it to you to start listening to it. But more important than that, we need to do these 3 steps with you live. So we're going to be doing that in January. And Jill will put a link to get on the wait list for that event, where we'll be walking you through these steps. Because, my friend, you have everything that you need to 10x your revenue, your results, and your accomplishment in 2025. You just need to learn the one skill. Instead of buying one more strategy, trying one more thing, let's learn how to operate what's in control of it all. Let's wire you for 10x this year. So that's what I wanted to jump on to share with you live. I hope this has been a valuable, quick training around wiring yourself for 10x this year. And I look forward to seeing you in our live event, where we're going to be deep diving into the step-by-step recipe that you can follow to unleash 10x in 2025. All right. I love you to pieces. I will see you on my next live. Until then, bye for now.